Hi, my name is Scott Peekson, and I'm the Assessment Coordinator for Career Connect, University of North Texas. I'm excited to provide this training to you to help you rate UNT students on the 4 marketable skills targeted by Career Connect. There are 5 training goals for today. We will review the requirements for participating in Career Connect and how Career Connect can help you to address course objectives and contribute to the national conversation on credentialing. We will also review the 4 student skills targeted by Career Connect. These are written communication, oral communication, teamwork, and critical thinking. In addition, we will discuss and document examples of student work that address these skills. We will also demonstrate how to use the 4 Career Connect rubrics to rate the 4 marketable skills, and we will conclude by reviewing the procedures for submitting the rubric ratings. Career Connect requires that students join the e-community that Career Connect creates for their class. We also require that students complete and submit a project template within their e-community. The submitted project templates are important because they contain documentation of and products relevant to what the students have learned during their Connect activity. Career Connect also requires that UNT faculty attend the Career Connect rubric rating training. Thank you for attending today. Finally, UNT faculty at the end of the semester must complete one or more of the 4 Career Connect rubrics. So how can Career Connect help UNT faculty? Career Connect's evaluation can address course objectives that address written communication, oral communication, teamwork, or critical thinking. Career Connect's rubrics also produce evidence that can be used to generate badges for students. And these badges can lead to skills credentials that can be documented on the University of North Texas students' transcripts. This evidence allows UNT faculty and students to join and take part in leading the national conversation on badging and credentialing throughout the United States. Many U.S. college campuses are not requiring students to meet a proficient benchmark score to earn a credential or a badge. Many campuses award badges for participation only, and this does not provide much evidence of learning. Career Connect's evaluation is also important to UNT faculty because it will provide raw data on students' reflections that target one or more of the 4 Career Connect skills. In addition, you can add a reflection question to Career Connect's reflection questions and administer this new question before or near the end of the semester. Career Connect's evaluation provides more than a performance evaluation. It provides an opportunity for UNT students to earn badges and ultimately marketable skills credentials. Now, I'd like to discuss with you the 4 skills targeted by Career Connect. The first skill is written communication. This is the development and expression of ideas in writing. Oral communication is the second skill targeted by Career Connect. It is a prepared, purposeful presentation designed to increase knowledge, to foster understanding, or to promote change in the listener's attitudes, values, beliefs, or behaviors. Teamwork is a behavior or work under the control of individual team members that contributes to the accomplishment of team planning or tasks and the interactions with other team members. Finally, critical thinking is a habit of mind characterized by the comprehensive exploration of issues, ideas, artifacts, and events before accepting or formulating an opinion or conclusion. Please note that these skills have been defined by the Association of American Colleges and Universities, or the AAC&U. The AAC&U used a variety of experts and many different faculty from across many different disciplines from many different universities across the country to develop these definitions. Also, please note that Career Connect chose these 4 skills for several reasons. The first reason is that these 4 skills are consistently reported within the top 10 skills that employers say they want college graduates to have when they enter the workforce. Second, these 4 skills are aligned with the University of North Texas's core rubrics. And third, we needed to choose skills that could be measured across every UNT department. Now I would like for you to take some time to think about examples of UNT student work that target these skills. Please think of examples of the work your students complete during or outside of the class. For example, do students engage in work activities that align with written or oral communication, teamwork, or critical thinking? What work activities do your students engage in that develop one or more of the 4 Career Connect skills? Please take a minute to write down 1 or 2 examples of this student work. Also, please write down the skill which the work addresses. We will move to the next slide in approximately 1 minute. Now that you have written down your own examples of UNT student work that address 1 or more of the 4 Career Connect skills, I would like to share with you some other examples that are likely similar to the ones you have written down. For written communication, students can write emails to you regarding class assignments or other issues regarding the class syllabus. Students can also write reports or journal entries or other written assignments that are required for a class project. Another example includes students who create presentations as a required assignment. Here are a few examples of work that target oral communication. In-depth or lengthy discussions with you about a class, an educational topic, or an assignment. Presentations delivered in or outside the classroom as a required class project. Or regular communications students may have had with other team members about a class project. 2 examples of teamwork include students who work with other classmates on a class project about an educational topic, or to solve problems or collaborate with on or off-campus organizations as part of a class assignment. Critical thinking examples can be found when UNT students research policies and consider the implications of those policies and develop a conclusion about their intended versus actual benefits. Other examples of critical thinking include UNT students who collect data through a needs assessment about a known problem within a Denton community and make 1 or more recommendations for addressing that problem. Another example, in general, includes any UNT student work that results in the creation of a work product that is a synthesis of multiple information sources. Now that we have gone over examples of UNT student work that target these 4 skills, I would like to show you how to use the 4 Career Connect rubrics to rate these skills. Let's start with written communication. This rubric, along with the other 3, was developed by the Association of American Colleges and Universities, or the AACNU. The AACNU used many different experts and faculty members from many different universities across several disciplines to develop these items. Therefore, these rubric items have face validity. There are 2 components to each of the 4 rubrics. For written communication, the first component is the criteria. The criteria for written communication are the areas that raters consider and evaluate when assessing students' skills in written communication. The criteria for written communication are the following: context of and purpose for writing, organization, content development, genre and disciplinary conventions, and sources of evidence. Each of these criterion are rated on a scale of 1 to 4, or the performance levels. Performance levels indicate how well each student has addressed each of the criterion. For example, if a student was rated with a 1 for context of and purpose for writing, the student would have demonstrated only a minimal awareness of context, audience, purpose, and the assigned task. Conversely, if that student was rated with a 4 or distinguished, they would have thoroughly described the context, audience, purpose, and the assigned task. For another example, a student may be rated with a 3 on content development. This would mean that the student had demonstrated in written form appropriate, relevant, and compelling content to develop and explore ideas throughout the assigned task. In addition, it would indicate that the content was used to develop and explore ideas that were appropriate and relevant. These performance levels indicate how well a student has addressed each of the rubric criterion. For example, if a student averages a score of 1 for written communication, that student would be considered to have only a very beginning level of written communication. Conversely, if a student averaged a score of 4 on written communication, that student would be considered to have a very high level or distinguished level of written communication. Please note that scores of 2 and 3 are theorized to be the most common scores for students. Also, please note that students have to average a score of 3 or higher on a rubric in order to receive a badge. Please note that in addition to these 4 performance levels, you will be given the option of scoring not applicable. Not applicable should be used in only 2 cases. For the first case, please score not applicable if you think that a student's work for a particular criterion does not even reach level 1 or the beginning level. That is, you think the student should be scored lower than 1 or beginning. For the second case, the student may not have submitted any data that you can use to rate a particular criterion. If that is the case, and there are no data to rate, please score not applicable. Now that we have reviewed the written communication rubric, I would like for you to take a few minutes to review the additional 3 Career Connect rubrics. These are oral communication, teamwork, and critical thinking. Please take a look at the handouts that you downloaded prior to attending this online training. The handouts include all 4 Career Connect rubrics. I will spend approximately 1 minute on each of the slides for each of the remaining 3 rubrics to give you time to review them. After you have had time to review the slides and the rubrics, we will then discuss evidence that you can use to rate the skills using the Career Connect rubrics. Now that you have reviewed all 4 Career Connect rubrics and know how to use them, and we have gone over examples of UNT student work that address the 4 skills targeted by the 4 Career Connect rubrics, I would like to discuss evidence that you can use to rate the skills that students demonstrate. For example, what work products could students submit or develop that could be used as evidence to rate written communication? You could use several things. You could use a report that is written by a student, or you could use an email or any other type of written communication that students generate through social media. Please note that if a student submits a one-page report, or you only have one email to rate, that likely will not be sufficient evidence to rate a student's written communication. Other examples of evidence that you can use to rate students' skills include activities that can be observed. For example, for oral communication, you could certainly rate a presentation that a student has given to a class. To be sure that the evidence you have gathered is sufficient for a rubric rating, you can compare the criteria for each of the rubrics to see if the evidence that you have identified addresses all of the criteria. For example, if a student conducted an online presentation with audio and a PowerPoint presentation only, you would not be able to completely or fully evaluate the delivery criterion for the oral communication rubric. The reason is that you would not be able to rate the presenter's posture, gestures, or eye contact. You could rate the online presenter's vocal expressiveness, but that is the only part of the delivery criterion that you could rate for oral communication. Please note that similar to the evidence for written communication, evidence for oral communication, critical thinking, and teamwork needs to be of sufficient length and depth so raters can address all or most of the criteria for a particular rubric. For example, if you observe a student's presentation only for a few minutes and have no other observations to draw evidence from, then that will likely not provide you with enough time or information to adequately rate that student's oral communication. Whatever evidence you choose, please compare the evidence to the criteria for each rubric. If the evidence you have chosen does not address all or most of the criteria for a rubric, then you may not be able to use that evidence to rate that student's skill. Please also note that you can use a wide variety of sources or evidence to rate a particular skill for a student. For written communication, you would not have to rely solely on, for example, a written report or only on a series of emails. You could rely on both as well as any other type of written communication generated through social media. For critical thinking, you may want to use a written report that students have submitted that reflect the analysis of a problem from multiple perspectives and contexts, and a synthesis of that information leading to a recommendation or conclusion. You may also want to think about how that student demonstrated critical thinking verbally during meetings with you or other colleagues, or during interactions with other students. Another important point about evidence was raised by a participant from a previous rubric training. That participant asked if he should try and rate all 4 Career Connect rubrics. The answer to that question was no. For example, if a student engages in teamwork, oral communication, written communication, and critical thinking, but you are only able to gather evidence on, say, oral communication, then you would not try to rate the other 3 skills because there simply would not be any evidence. You would only rate the skills that are a natural fit for the work UNT students are doing and for the evidence they produce. Now, I would like to share with you how I would rate a Career Connect graduate student who engages in the same experiential learning activities as those included in a Career Connect activity. I will discuss the evidence that I would use to rate this graduate student in the area of written communication. When I think about Alyssa's work for Career Connect and compare it to the written communication rubric, I think about what evidence Alyssa has generated or submitted, or what evidence I have adequately observed for her written communication. I would only use evidence that was of sufficient depth and length to address all or most of the criteria for written communication. Part of what we have asked Alyssa to do is work on Career Connect's social media platforms, day-to-day email correspondence, as well as the development of some internal departmental documents such as meeting agendas, project proposals, and reports. So when rating Alyssa on her written communication skills, I wouldn't only be looking at individual pieces of evidence of her writing. For example, I wouldn't assess her on a single section of a proposal that she wrote, or a single email she drafted, or a tweet. I would be looking comprehensively at all of the written communication work or evidence that she produced, and I would be thinking about what I could adequately rate. So as an example of looking at the written communication skills rubric, one of the first criterion is the context of and purpose for writing. So obviously the crafting of something on a social media platform versus crafting something for a project proposal would have very different contexts and purposes of writing. So I would be scoring her on different areas where she did communicate context of and purpose for writing for both Career Connect tasks. Of note, please review the last criterion on the written communication rubric. This is sources and evidence. To this point, the written material we have asked Alyssa to produce has not required sources or evidence, so I would rate not applicable for this criterion. The best piece of advice I can give you for rating your students is to assess only what you have observed or products that students have generated or produced. Don't feel any pressure to assess all 4 Career Connect skills, even if students have demonstrated all 4. Only rate the skills that you have evidence for. Also, please use the response descriptions to help you understand the differences, for example, between a 2 and a 3 or a 3 and a 4. If you are stuck between 2 scores, please pick the one where the entire description is true, which is typically the lower one. So how will UNT faculty ratings of student work be collected by Career Connect at the end of the semester? They can access the rubrics through FolioTech, or Career Connect can email them a hyperlink that will allow them to access and complete the relevant Career Connect rubrics. Please note that students cannot be rated if they have not joined their associated e-community or submitted a project template within that e-community. Also, please note that in order for students to receive a badge, they must be rated a 3 or higher on any of the 4 Career Connect rubrics. As mentioned on the previous slide, UNT faculty can access Career Connect rubrics through FolioTech. This slide shows what the written communication rubric looks like in FolioTech. As you can see, the criteria for the written communication rubric are listed on the left-hand side of the screen, and the performance levels, beginning, developing, proficient, and distinguished, are listed in the columns on the right-hand side of the screen. To view the response descriptions for each of the performance levels, simply place your cursor over the Evidence hyperlink and click it. A response description will pop up for you to read. To score each of the criterion, you would simply click in the box above the Evidence hyperlink, and it will turn that box green. As you can see here, I have chosen the beginning level, or 1, for the context of and purpose for writing. We really appreciate the time you are going to take to rate your UNT students. In an ideal world, there would be more than one rater for each student, so that those raters could work together to discuss the student's work and the evidence they produced, and come up with a consensus agreement on what the rating for each of the criterion should be. However, I know that time is short, and you will likely not have the time to work with another rater to figure out how to score all of the students' work for every criteria for each rubric. So, if time allows, we request that all UNT faculty and their TAs communicate with each other so that you can discuss the rubric ratings and decide on a score. This doesn't have to be a detailed discussion about all of the criteria, but at a minimum, we hope that you will compare the ratings separately after you have done them, and then work together to come up with a consensus score. I would like to conclude this training by re-emphasizing one of the benefits of using the Career Connect evaluation. By participating in the Career Connect evaluation, you are allowing your UNT students the opportunity to earn badges in a marketable skill. If UNT students earn 6 badges in one skill, then they will be awarded a UNT-backed evidence-based credential in that marketable skill. This credential may set UNT students apart from other students who have also graduated but have not earned a marketable skills credential. This will allow UNT students to be more competitive when they are looking for jobs upon graduation.